Hey everyone, Jim Coventry from RotoWire here. The top 5 AFC trends going into week 3 and then trends for each other team in the conference. And I mean NFC. We did AFC yesterday. All right, number 1, NFC trend, the Atlanta Falcons. So Kyle Pitts, 7 targets in the season opener, 3 in the second game. It's Drake London. 12 targets in week 2 after tying Pitts with 7 in week 1. It looks like, based on small sample size, 2 games, Drake London, the first round pick, wide receiver, looks right now to be their alpha receiver, catching 8 passes for 86 yards and a touchdown. Pitts could benefit longer term, though. Right now, defenses are expecting Pitts to be the number 1 guy. In reality, if London is their alpha, they will handle him differently. I still think Pitts sees a lot of times on safeties and linebackers, and I do think it'll get acclimated, but it might not happen right away unless the Falcons make a concerted effort to get Pitts involved in the offense, which they really need to do. Number 2, NFC trend, the Carolina Panthers. So DJ Moore, I'm officially concerned now. First game, we could write off his performance because they only had 50 offensive snaps when the Browns took the air out of the football. But in week 2, the Giants, who were down 2 pass rushers in a corner, relentlessly pressured Baker Mayfield in the fourth quarter. He could barely even get a pass off. So DJ Moore is the guy who's suffering here. 6 targets in each game, 3 for 43 in each game. I don't know what to say right now because right now he's playing a full snap share. I don't know what his upside is at this point. Baker, in theory, is a great match for him. But right now, if teams are going to pressure Mayfield cannot deal with pressure. And so right now, very problematic because Baker does not look good. And then also Christian McCaffrey. Look, McCaffrey did get 100 yards on the ground in week 2. Great. He does not look explosive. He had the 1 run, but there are so many touches he's getting. He normally would have left people in his dust. Not happening with any consistency. It's 2 weeks. Maybe it's rust, very possible. But unless he turns things around quickly, problematic. He has had 9 targets, and he's caught 8 of them, but those 8 targets have only resulted in 50 yards. Very, very un-Christian McCaffrey-like. So right now, be concerned. And honestly, based on the 100-yard game, I would consider offering him to trade away if I'm rostering him in a league. The Green Bay Packers, top trend number 3. Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon are very involved in the offense. There's a little overlap where they're playing at the same time on the field, which is very smart. Packers getting their best players out there. Now, Dillon still had more touches than Aaron Jones against the Bears, even though Jones had the monster game. But they both, it was 18 and 19 touches. So the touches are very equal. It's just a matter of they're both going to be productive. They're both going to be good fantasy options, but it really depends how the team deploys them. We finally saw Aaron Jones. There was only 3 targets, but they deployed him in a way to use of explosive ability. Aaron Jones gives them their highest offensive ceiling. Getting them both integrated works. But the Packers' history has been recently. When Aaron Jones has a big game, they put him back under wraps. And we'll see. This week will be pivotal. If they're going to weaponize him, he will have that top 5 running back season in PPR leagues because Aaron Jones, in my opinion, one of the most talented running backs in the NFL. A.J. Dillon's great as well, just a different role. And the next take is going to be the Washington Commanders. Right now, Carson Wentz has 4 reliable targets to throw the ball to. Now, Terry McLaurin plays about 90% of the snaps. He went from 4 to 8 targets in week 2, but his production has been nothing great. He had 75 yards in week 2, which was great, but nothing outstanding. It's been Curtis Samuel, as you know, 20 targets in 2 weeks, 5 rushing attempts. They used him in motion a lot. They make defenses commit to man or zone defense. It allows them some easy reads. It also allows other players to get freed up, and Samuel is getting the balls in many creative ways. Jahan Dotson, 5 targets in each game. He's been productive, but if that target volume doesn't go up, it's going to be hard to maintain his level of production with only 5 targets a game. Logan Thomas, now we expect less of a tight end. He has 11 targets in the 2 games. His snap share went up from 60 to 73. He was always a 100% snap player before hurting his knee. If he gets back to that level, he still right now is a borderline tight end 1 because that's a low bar to cross. 3 for 37 and a touchdown last week. He had about 40 yards in the opener, but he is putting together that floor like we know he's had, and defenses will not in any way be able to focus on him. All right, Takeaway number 5 for the NFC, the Arizona Cardinals. 2 games. Now, Kyler Murray pulled out the win, and it was great for him, but he's under 30 rushing yards 2 games in a row, and he doesn't have a big stable of weapons. So right now, his fantasy value upside is not anywhere what it's been like when he's been healthy in past years. James Conner's concerning me a bit. Now, I know he had a little bit of a dinged ankle, and this week already he was limited to practice, so he may be back. But we know the blocking's garbage, and we know he didn't get much yards per carry, but he had a lot of red zone opportunities last year. But the receiving options haven't been, in this. Well, he's had targets. He's had 6 and 4 targets. So the targets have been decent, but they're going to have to deploy him creatively in the screen game because that's where he'll do a lot of damage. So that the jury's out right now. I still believe in James Conner, but right now the offense is fairly dysfunctional, and I think Conner is hurting for that. Now, Zach Ertz was back. First week, he was limited with that calf, off the injury report, 11 targets in week 2. So he'll be manning the slot frequently, and he'll be a very reliable option. And I'll take questions at the end. So next thing we're going to talk about is the Falcons. So Cordero Patterson, he had that huge workload in week 1. Remember, I told you that Damian Williams was in on the first series, but he injured his ribs and was done for the day. So therefore, I felt like Patterson was in a timeshare, but he wasn't when Damian Williams got knocked out because Tyler Algier was inactive. Sure enough, week 2, Patterson did play 59% of the snaps. Algier 31. They both had 10 carries. Patterson only had 1 target. And with Drake London becoming a thing at wide receiver, that's going to be interesting because that could be a hit to Patterson's value as a receiver. The Bears, talked about this in the XM show last night. Look, they're not throwing, but they had 2 brutal matchups. Packers, when healthy, are a championship-level defense. 49ers, they played in the monsoon and an amazing front 7. They had no chance in those games. Just look back to last year. Justin Fields had at least 285 yards in 2 of his last 3 full games. He was running the ball. They had the same poor talent group they had this year. That has to come around as the schedule lightens up starting this week. Mooney is only 2 catches for 4 yards. Komet doesn't have a catch yet. They are going to be fine. This was a horrible schedule to start the season, and the Bears will have to throw at some point in time. All right, the Cowboys, look, it's the Elliott and Pollard show. We kind of knew that coming in. But the problem is Dallas now with the offensive line that's really beat up. Zeke Elliott's one of my favorite players in the league, but he follows blocks like nobody else. The problem is the blocks aren't going to be there behind a bad line. Tony Pollard can actually create. So Pollard is going to see less work, but he's going to be very productive with his opportunities. Zeke is going to, unfortunately, have a little hit on his upside because of the bad offensive line and Cooper Rush at quarterback. Teams are going to stack the box on them. So that's good. I'll get questions at the end. I see 2 questions, but I don't have anything to the offer because you got to type in your offer, and I'll get to that later. All right. TJ Hawkinson's the next. Targets are fine. 7 in each game. But he only has a total of 64 yards in 2 games. And the more accustomed Goff gets to throwing to Amon-Ra St. Brown in the middle of the field, Hawkinson may see that 7 targets a game even dry up further because he just has not been very good. So it'd be a sell moment on TJ Hawkinson. The Rams, Tyler Higbee, 11 and 9 targets in 2 games. Right now, the offensive line is bad. Matthew Stafford certainly doesn't want to get hit. He's getting the ball to who he knows. That's Kupp, and that's Higbee. Higbee maybe not 11 and 9 targets, but Higbee should be a regular staple in the volume game. The Vikings, it was good to see Irv Smith after being eased in week 1, coming back from an offseason thumb injury. He put in 56% of the snaps, not a big amount, but 5 for 36 and a touchdown on 8 targets. He was second in targets behind Justin Jefferson. Not that that'll be the case every week, but it was good to see signs of life from Smith in this office because KJ Osborne has not looked fantastic to start the season. All right, next, the Saints. Again, Juwan Johnson, 2 weeks in a row. Targets were 5 and 7. He had 4 for 40 last week. If you need a second tight end, if you're in a tight end premium league, he is rosterable. He is going to get some looks, and he's going to have, have down games like all the other low-end tight ends, but he is a deal there. The Giants, looks like Brian Daboll's going to play his guys. Kadarius Toney, low 38% of the snaps. He's 3 targets. He's on the 2 rushes on the season, 3 targets. I don't know. I don't know that he's going to be seeing a lot of work because I don't know if Daboll believes in him. Basically, Kenny Golladay was benched, 3% of the snaps, no targets. It was David Sills, 92% of the snaps, only 4 targets. Richie James actually played less than half of that amount, 6 targets, productive 2 games in a row. Look, when he was in San Francisco and they gave him opportunities, he was productive. Don't sleep on Richie James being a flex. In a 3-receiver league, he may be a flex. He can play. And he's not great, but he can play. And then Sterling Shepard, 88% of the snaps. The dude has always performed when he's on the field. He should be rostered in most 12-team leagues. He could be, again, on that borderline of wide receiver 3, flex, but wide receiver 3 would be a very realistic look because he had 10 targets last week. And again, he's a good football player. The Eagles, again, 3-way split. Boston Scott, 21% of the carries or the touches. Kenny Gainwell only 26. The Miles Sanders show, he had 17 of 23 running back carries. He had as many targets as Gainwell and Scott combined. So Miles Sanders not putting up crazy yardage, but he's productive. He's a strong running back too. Right now, Kenny Gainwell and Boston Scott, I don't know that you can start them. And honestly, I love Gainwell going in. If you've got a better option on the wire, you might be able to dump him. And then the Seahawks. I just want to point out that Rashad Penny and Kenneth Walker were both on the field. It was Travis Homer who out-snapped them both in the game they trailed, 4 targets and 2 carries. They're giving work to Travis Homer over Penny and Walker. Penny had 6 carries, Walker had 4 and 3 targets. This backfield is a mess right now. If they're going to go a 3-way committee for a team that's going to trail most weeks, not a good situation. Finally, the Bucs. Leonard Fournette, he has played 76 and 87% of the snaps. In last year's stretch run, he had 3 straight games where he played over 50 snaps. The 3rd game, his hamstring went out and he missed multiple games, including a playoff game. I don't think Leonard Fournette is up to that kind of workload. Very concerned about him long-term. I don't think that he'll be able to maintain it. And we saw him with a 24 for 65 rushing line. Now, it was the Saints, something to be said. Only 2 catches for 9 yards. Not a good game for Lenny. Now, if you like this content, smash the like and the subscribe buttons. And really, if you like our content overall, go to rotowire.com/try. You get 2 days free behind the paywall with no credit card. We'd love you to be part of the team. Take a couple questions here, and then we'll get rolling. Cedric, 2 starts between Drake London, CeeDee Lamb, Pittman, Keenan Allen, Cortland. Wow, that's a lot of good options to have. You know, right now, Michael Pittman is practicing. Michael Pittman is the alpha in that offense. Matt Ryan targets his alpha. He can win against coverage. So to me, he is like a top 10 type option every week. And outside that, now the rest of them are really close. Keenan Allen's still hurt. CeeDee Lamb has the quarterback situation limiting him. And you know, but Cortland Sutton did really mesh with Russell Wilson last week, and I do think that's going to continue. I know Jerry Jeudy was out for a while, most of the game, but I do think that chemistry is going to establish. They've drawn a couple defensive pass interference calls that it's also taken away from Sutton's numbers. Those may dry up, and forgot to put those up on there. And then JP said, should I take the offer? I have no idea what your offer is. And then I need running backs. Again, I have no idea what your offer is. And Dave, thoughts about the Bucs, Perriman, and Beasley? Well, there's a lot of injuries right now. Gage has got to be getting closer every week from his hamstring. Mike Evans, that suspension week, that's probably going to help him heal from his calf. And Chris Godwin hopefully comes back in a few weeks. And Julio just fell on his knee. So to me, that was just like, a bruise, and he'll probably be fine. So look, Perriman, if the other receivers are out, he's worth a sub as a flex. And Beasley, it all depends what the prognosis on Godwin is. If Gage is healthy and Godwin's there, Beasley may just be, a guy in case he's insurance. And I would not drop Hunter Renfrow. He had 8 targets last week. He did fumble twice, but he got concussed badly on one. And so you can't really hold that against him. All right, everybody. Thanks for your time and have a great day.